We're directing our thoughts, minds to Yerushalayim. And if you were to stop at Yitran's way, and you would ask him, what are you thinking about? He would surely answer, I'm thinking of Yerushalayim. So we're on our way. The holiest moments of his life, and you would ask him, what are you thinking about? He would surely answer, I'm thinking of Yerushalayim. So we're on our way.
Chavra, the cover the Heilige Shabbos, the Kavin Purim, 40 days until Purim, the midst of Shovavim, Parsha Bo. What else we got? We got Zos Chanukah, the light of Zos Chanukah. Chavra, prayer 139, Kaf Lamitat. This is amazing. Kaf Lamitat. So tefillah that you could see in the back of the 50th gate, student Torah, and Baruch Hashem, 2 weeks into using this holy prayer book, the new version, we're going to enter into our prayer, and let's fire it up. So tefillah b'shem kol Yisrael for Pesach Reuben ben Yosef Baruch Bas Yehudis, Yonah Bas Basa, Shir Bas Basa, Sinai Reuben ben Mani, Tova Bas Peril, Svi ben Chana, Rivka bat Rezel, Shel ben Chana Leah, Yolini Shmat, Yudis Bracha bas Nechemia, Mir Neshama haben Aliyah, and Tefillah b'Shem Kol Yisrael. Somech Hashem v'chol hanoflim b'zokef v'chol hakifufim. Hashem supports all who fall and straightens all who are bent over. Have pity, mercy, and compassion on us and on all of our souls of your nation. The house of Israel, wherever they may be. Reveal to them and to us the true tzaddikim in this generation who have the power to rectify the souls of Israel. Truly bring these souls back to you into your Torah. Help all of us, the house of Israel, truly come close to them. However, that was the first couple of lines of this prayer. 50th gate. It's beautiful stuff. If a congregation does not have a reader who can read the Megillah without cantillations properly, maybe even without the cantillations, as long as he pronounces the words properly, so that the meaning of the words does not change. For if, for example, he read instead of Mordechai Yoshev, and Mordechai was sitting, Yashev, Mordechai Yashav, you said Mordechai Yashav, which changes the tense, it means, and Mordechai sat, he's not fulfilled his obligation. Wow. Or if you were able to read instead of Haman Nofel, Nafal, right, which changes the tense, it means Haman fell, or any similar deviation, even after the fact he does not fulfill his obligation. They may make vowelization and cantillation marks in the Megillah scroll so that he should read it properly, since it is a pressing situation. It is better to do this than to have another quietly read from a chumash for the reader, since the one reading from the chumash, even though he's reading quietly, cannot concentrate to listen to the reader, and thus he is only read from the chumash and has not fulfilled his obligation. If this does happen, the one who read quietly for the reader must hear and read again from a Val Megillah scroll. Start to Shem. Kavod Shabbos. Chapter 3, Mishnah 6. Rabbi Chalafta ben Dosa, Ish Kfar Chananya Omer. When 10 sit together and engage in Torah study, the divine presence rests among them, as it is written in Tehillim. God stands in the midst of the godly congregation. How do we know that this applies even to 5? Because it is written, and he founded his band upon the earth. This is written in Amos. How do we know that this applies even to 3? Because it is written in Tehillim. In the midst of judges, he judges. How do we know that this applies to even 2? Because it is written, then those who feared God spoke with one another, and God listened and heard. And how do we know that this applies to even to 1? Because it is written, in every place where I cause my name to be mentioned, I will come to you and bless you. B'ezrat Hashem. In Shemot, we'll read this in Exodus. Chavra. Wow, so there's a lot of ideas going on right now. Let's just bring the whole thing together, and let's start from the end and work our way back to Aleph. Even though the end is also Aleph, but work our way back from the beginning. Almost like like just sparking. Rabbi Nachman tells us that when we wake up in the morning, we have to have our eyes and our mind on Olam Haba, then work our way back, right? So those are the machshavas when we wake up, and how do we elevate ourselves, and really have lofty aspirations going into the day. So here we go. So in every place where I cause my name to be mentioned, right? So this is the last line in Exodus. We'll read this at some point. Our ultimate spiritual goal is to merge within the Or Ein Sof, the light of the Infinite One, says Rav Nassan, so completely that our Torah becomes God's Torah and our prayers become God's prayers. Where do we see this? In Masechah Bracha, it says in the notes, right? On Daf Zayin Amud Aleph, Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Yossi ben Zimra. How do we know that the Holy One prays? It is written, I will bring them to my holy mountain, and I will cause them to rejoice in the house of my prayer. This is in Isaiah. And what is written? What is his prayer? Rabbi Zutra bar Tuvia said, in the name of Rav, may it be my will that my compassion overrule my anger, and that my mercy prevail over my attributes. So here we see the source of God's prayer. This is the meaning of in every place where I call, which also could be translated as in every place where I mention my name. The level of God's prayer, but becoming absorbed into godliness. Then when we mention God's name It is as if God mentions his own name. This is called God's prayer. We were created primarily for this purpose, to reach the high spiritual rung at which our Torah and prayer becomes God's Torah and God's prayer in actual fact. We went through this. The other day, right? One who sits together with another one, sharing God's name, God dwells within them, right? God sits with them. But if not, then, doesn't want any part of that. We're not mentioning God's name, if we're not letting Hashem in. So there's a couple of ideas here, because we see that when 10 sit together and engage in Torah, the divine presence rests among them. So, and it's quoted in the Psalms, God stands in the midst of a godly congregation. It says in the Psalms. We have to say the Psalms. Bring him in. Millstone, we're on stealing Torah. Let's get in for a couple of minutes. We're on stealing Torah. So we're talking about 10, right, sitting together and learning. So we're seeing the beauty of a congregation. We know Ariel University has an amazing congregation, the whole thing. So it says in Masechet Tani that Rashi brings down
a little is also good.
A little is also good. Love it. Communal prayer is accepted even though not all the participants are sincere. So we see by joining the congregation, joining the Seaborg, joining for tefillah, right? Even if we're mumbling, there's a famous story from the Berditchever. We're not going to recite because it's already been over 10 minutes. But mumbling the whole thing, it's still being heard by Hashem. Another idea is had it right here. The advantages of learning with other people. We see this because it says later, how do we know that this applies to even two? Right? We spoke about the chavrutas the other day, like we mentioned before. Because it is written, then those who fear God spoke with one another, and God listened and heard. So we see here, one who studies alone is likely to make mistakes, for he lacks a partner to correct his errors. Just an eitzah from Masechet Tani, the difference between learning from by oneself or with another person, and how when with another person, that person is able to, both the minds are able to work together and come to clarity. Learning by ourselves, it's hard to go according to our judgment and our understanding. Right, so that's where we have it. We have it, and just to end off, Millstone, Rabbi Nachman said, as it is written, Israel is an actual portion of God from on high. Right, this is in Iyuv. That is, they're actually portions of the Shekhinah. Rabbi Nassan points out that this is why every Jew can experience the Shekhinah in a unique way. And this is why it says in the end, in every place where I cause my name to be mentioned, I will come to you and bless you. B'ezrat Hashem, wherever we are, whatever context we're in, let's try to be a little more like Yosef HaTzadik, who would mention God's name in every single sentence that came out of his mouth. I think it's brought down in Rashi somewhere. But really just being aware, letting God in our lives, and connecting to the Or Ein Sof, merging ourselves with the Or Ein Sof, right? And that our Torah becomes God's Torah, and our prayers become God's prayers. B'ezrat Hashem, Kavod Shabbos. Questions, comments, please feel free. All right, Beseder, L'Kavod the Heilige Shabbos, Kavra, have a great night.